Excuse me.
Excuse me. Tell everyone you've ever met right now, 'cause the bitch is back. Yes, the bitch is back.
Your Buffy and Angel comfort content starts now. So, a little introduction to our guest today. I discovered Joanna Johnson through her TikTok at Unlearn16 in January of this year. I began following her because her educational content on politics and history and grammar and the like were sheer fire. She's a teacher of 23 years, but that hardly seems possible. She looks terribly young and she's very relatable. She goes viral regularly and also wrote a book called, this is her first book, she just did it, That's Not What This Book Is About. I don't know what this book is about, but I can't wait to have her explain it to us. Joanna was invited onto the podcast today because she is a huge fan of the show, but I think her literary lens will be educational and stimulating for you too. I thought that this episode, The Pack, would be an ideal episode for us to have some deeper conversation about the critical themes and societal impact and more. When I asked her to join me on the podcast, she was so excited and literally told me that she once, quote, turned Buffy into a senior independent analysis project on feminism. So needless to say, I'm very interested in what she has to say and hope you are too. I love to learn and she's a great teacher. So buckle up because we're about to get schooled hard. Please welcome my new friend, Joanna Johnson. I've got to ask you this important question. So it's been said in all the chat rooms, historically speaking, and when I'm at conventions, I hear a lot of rumblings around this, that, you know, the creator of the show, whose name I won't mention, that they are, like, that Xander is a reflection of them, right? So when you say what makes the show so great is because it's stimulating or creating a conversation to bring about change potentially. Do you really think that it's that intentional that you say it's brilliant to bring up the conversation? Or do you think that there is this side to this person that is genuinely toxic and I don't know, that they're like maybe laying on the sword or they're exercising their own demons through storytelling? Or do you think it truly is an effort, a conscious effort to bring about change in society through storytelling? Knowing what we know 25 years later, right? Like,
we're never going to know. Nobody's ever going to talk to him again, so who will know? But let's look at it a little bit. And again, this is hard because it's from somebody who has never spoken to him, right? But let's look at it. Let's take it out of this for a second. Let's look at a kid.
I'm asking you from an educator's point of view.
Let's look at a kid who when they were in high school, they were the nerd, they got picked on, they got harassed, they never got a date, and all of a sudden they have the capacity to sort of build this show in order to maybe reflect who they wanted to be back then. Because I do think fame and money, sometimes, unless you've dealt with your inner trauma, fame and money has a way of highlighting.
Exasperating.
Yeah, that's right. So as he got that, because in the first season, he didn't have that, Buffy was going to get canceled every 5 seconds. It got bounced around to different networks, right? Like it was like, after it went to, where was it first? Like it
went
first
from the WB. Only one time did it change networks, and then it went to UPN, but it was for the last 2 seasons. So it was 5 seasons in, and there was, to my knowledge, no talk of it being canceled. The WB was very, Buffy, Angel maybe, but Buffy was very strong in terms of its numbers, and I think the only show that was higher was Seventh Heaven on that network. So I don't recall that being the case, but I honestly don't know definitively speaking, but I've been on a show where you felt like it's possibly going to be canceled at any minute, and the network is in the hair and makeup trailer. They're on set every day. And I never got that. I feel like Garth Ancier, who is the WB network head, he let Joss do his thing. And I never really got that feeling that the show was going to be canceled at any given time.
Well, that's, I mean, it's a perception then on my part, by things that you read, by things like where it got shifted time wise. But um, at the beginning, I think there might have been better intent. And then from what I understand, there was a lot of other writers on that show, right? I mean, it wasn't just him, right? You had all of these, and it seemed like when you see the writing credits, a lot of women coming onto that show too, but in order to write, not just to be characters. And then as the fame got bigger, as the, I'm assuming, money got more significant, I would say that individual was able to express more toxicity with impunity, because that's what that allows, or that's what he thought it would allow. Whereas the show, I mean, whether he intended it to be that or not, can you imagine for a second a guy that maybe was it when they were in high school exhibited more sort of, let's say, feminine attributes, okay, not the alpha, not the jock, not this guy, maybe he was artistic, maybe he was in the AV club or whatever, right? Can you imagine for a second that individual wanting to elevate those characteristics and those gender identifiers, not just sex specific, but as being important and being valued and being all of those things? And then whatever path he took, different, but the path that the show took, whether he intended it in the beginning or not, was transformational. So transformational that, again, major universities are analyzing the impacts. And if it was all accidental, I mean, what a great accident, I guess. What a great accident. But I do think there could have been moments of reflection in the beginning. Um,
If you were to analyze all the seasons, or all the seasons, would you do you, because I haven't seen all the episodes, so I can't imagine. I don't know. Is this a peek inside the consciousness of the creator? And if it is, was there more redemptive qualities early on than later? When I speak to you, a person that has basically an expert knowledge of the show. You
I have
do.
I've taken it upon myself. I think that the funny thing about season one, and I often, it was 16 episodes, and I often try to get a lot of people to watch Buffy. Anybody I know, to be honest, I will buy the DVD set as gifts. And Anna's just like, Joe, you know, you don't even care what they like. I'm like, well, they should like this, so I'm going to give it to them anyway. I can't help it if they don't have taste. I'm just trying to help people. But I do say this, season one is a little harder to get through because it's episodic, meaning its episode are more, yes, they're standalone episodes, and it makes sense because it's your first season. So if somebody hops in on episode 8, you don't want them to feel lost. You want them to feel like they can watch episode 8 and carry on. I say to everybody, if you get to season 2 and you watch it all the way through and you don't think this is brilliant, number 1, you're wrong. Number 2, we can't be friends anymore.
You know what's so funny about you saying that you give Buffy the Vampire Slayer box sets as gifts, and then you're reminded, like, you're not even getting them anything that they like. You don't even know if they like it, and you're like, they need to like it. You remind me of my ex-husband, who at Christmas would always buy me things that he wanted me to have.
I wouldn't do that with Anne. I'm just trying to help people. Maybe they didn't know about it. Maybe they thought that those other vampire shows, when they watched it, and I'm not even going to name names here, were like all original. They need to know the origin. They need to know. They just need to know. But I do think that come season 2,
You're giving me church right now.
I do think, I don't want to say damnation on men, Xander's character aside, but it really is like, and I don't want to jump ahead, but when you get to Angel in season 2, and you get to the becoming and all of that, this transformational notion of men becoming so incredibly horrific. He doesn't write them nice. He doesn't write them, yeah, redemptive. Nobody watched Xander. And the funny part is, this is the funny part. If he was Xander, nobody's watched that and redeemed Xander. Nobody. Like the entire Buffy ecosystem hasn't watched that and gone, what a great guy he is. No, that didn't happen.
No, it didn't happen. In fact, what's been astonishing for me is he's painted as somebody that you should feel sorry for. Like he's quirky and different and awkward, and nobody ever picks the nice guy.
He's
Nobody ever
painted,
picks,
yes.
right? That's how Xander is kind of framed. But then when he turns into the hyena, there's this alpha, like predatory, like all any male's character defects are on steroids. It's like a walking, talking red flag. And what I found difficult about the episode was there was this trope that he believed, Xander, that, oh, you like dark, mean, mysterious, which I don't know why he's saying that Angel's mean yet. Which, by the way, he's another character that fails her. At no point in time does Angel, he warns her and then disappears or is like outside waiting to see if she survives. I don't understand the point of like why he isn't in the trenches with her. And is he rejected from the master and his minion? Why? Like, I don't understand. Like, is he an outcast like they do with lions? They just send the weird lion out to be on their own and fend for themselves. They've been rejected from the tribe because they're deficient in some way. I feel like, what is up with Xander? Why doesn't he have any? Hey, this is a Freudian slip. Why isn't Angel? Why doesn't he have any friends? But here, there's this trope where Xander, when he attacks Buffy and is about to, attempting to SA her, basically, and thinks that she wants it. And do you even know you want it? Like, oh my gosh, it made me so triggered. I was so angry at that. And I was like, those boys grew up thinking that women don't know what they want and that they like to be mistreated, that girls only like bad boys. I would like to take a stand at this moment in time and go on the record and say that is a lie. Women do not like to be mistreated. You do not win my heart by being a jerk. I do not like to be told what I like and don't like. I like to be heard. I want to be safe. Women need to feel safe. That's what women want. Dudes, make your woman feel safe.
The funny part is the trope, as you say it, is now being weaponized on podcasts across America. It's the same trope. Buffy should be re-released right now because what should be understood is they're playing on the same exact garbage, something we should have shed generations ago, and they're playing on that same garbage time and time again, making millions of dollars on it, not off a fictional TV show, but in real life on podcasts, at events, at like everything. And they're saying they're saying exactly what you're saying in a well, this is what women want. 100% this is what women want, and this is what they need, and they need to be back in the kitchen, and maybe their rights to vote, they don't need their right to vote anymore, and maybe we should take away their bodily autonomy, and maybe they should be more contained to the private sphere as they used to be when they were happier. It's a flood.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for saying that and saying it so succinctly and articulately and being able to, cover it all. Please this episode just really spoke to me. This episode really triggered a lot of what is going on. These fights that we're having to fight today that were already fought and won in the 70s and 80s. I just am so upset by the state of affairs in our country. So when I was watching this episode, I saw so many similarities. So many similarities in the storyline about the women and the way the women are treated and the way, Giles doesn't listen and Giles can't give her flowers. God forbid he say something nice, and Angel gives her a warning and thinks that's an appropriate duty. He's not in the trenches fighting with her. He's not on her team. He's just trying to see if she makes it out of that episode alive. What? Why does she like him? Because he's tall, dark, and handsome and mysterious
Very
and only
pretty.
shows up. I mean, okay, sure, maybe like not my type, but okay. I mean, he never looked cuter. Yes, yes, but he's not my type personally. I don't even think I have a type, to be honest. But this episode was so dark. And also, can we just address the fact that there's no Cordy in it?
Well, I was just saying, I got invited to talk about the only episode you're not in. And by the way, I don't even understand why you weren't in that episode. That episode and his everything, that was going to be perfect for you to come up against. Perfect. Like that should have been an interaction. Like, I don't understand. I also want to point out this, because we're talking about the group. They all turn into hyenas. There's like 4 of them, right? There's a girl in that group.
Yes, 2 women.
That's purposeful. There's
2 women, 2 boys, 2 girls.
Purposeful. And again, it's not about women having that superiority. It's about women's access to power. So if we've convinced women that these alpha males are it, right? And women are subordinate, then the only way you get access to that power is joining that team, is joining that pack, right? Holding on to that to your own detriment is the only thing you think is giving you power.
This is patriarchal. This is patriarchal bullshit, because the one with the most toys wins, right? That's what everybody is believing, right? So then the women want to gravitate towards that, but I don't know if it's because they're like the power as much as it's survival.
Yeah. Well, it's survival. They have to attach themselves here, and I really do.
Scott Galloway talks about that. You love Scott Galloway, but he talks about that.
Yeah.
About why women support that, because they need to survive, because they're thinking of men as, is this person capable of being a good provider, like will I be safe? Will I be safe with this person if they have the most toys, if they have the most money, if they have the most respect with the peers of the other men? This is so true.
Yeah, but all of those things are interconnected. I can't wait till you get to the end. I don't know who you're going to have on for the finale, but it should be me, first of all, because with the end of that series and the way that Buffy puts that on its end, not at the end of the season, but the end of the series, and the way that she chucks out, there can only be one, is, I think, one of the most brilliant things, and I have a tattoo of it actually on my arm, one of the most brilliant things that can be applied to feminist ideology, to the political system, to democratic notions of democratic freedom and empowerment, all of it. And it's incredibly powerful. And by those points, I know who the writers were. They were all women. A lot of them were women by the season 7 of Buffy. Anyways,
right. I have to say, I'm on episode 6. They're all written by men, and we have a head writer, a creator is a man, obviously, and all of the directors have been men up to now.
Very different.
But then, how do we reconcile that this is a good thing because this is a man championing a slayer, championing women.
You're gonna find out. Oh God, I would love to skip to the end. You're gonna put a pin in this. Put a pin in this. Clip this, and then you're gonna use it when you get to like season 7. Midway through. Um,
Is this frustrating for you that I don't know?
I just can't believe you never watched it, Charisma. I'm
I was
baffled. I'm
working.
just like, what do you
I was
mean?
working. True, I've been away from it for quite a
You had
while.
a minute.
I have had time, but you know, I don't know. I tried to rewatch it with Donovan when he was little. It just didn't work out. I
But
don't.
I also think, can I also say something? There is no person on this planet that is all good or all bad, besides maybe your president. I think for the most part, people are a combination of a bunch of things. They're a combination of what they really want to be. They're a combination of what they've been built into being. They're a combination of what society is sort of pushing them and enforcing them to be. And I do believe, and this is my optimist, that every person has the vision of what the world should be. And I don't think a single soul, if they're relying on their better nature, doesn't see the beauty in equity, doesn't see the beauty in justice, doesn't see the beauty in making everybody feel safe, doesn't see the beauty in a once marginalized and oppressed half of the population now being able to stand up and be the superhero that everybody looks to. I truly believe that there still can be good in that individual, even though he may be swayed far from it. I still think there could have been that instinct, that idea, very similar to
I would
Spike's
love that.
character.
I would love that for that person.
I would love
I
that for
would. I
everybody. I
would.
think it's good for everybody.
Well, I mean, particularly, since this is the podcast is about the show, and it's a sampling of the greater problem, right? We have
Yeah,
like this
it
little
really
world,
is.
and it mirrors what's happening right now. You would hope. I would hope. I genuinely, truly hope because I know that I have people in my life that I am not like close with necessarily, but I know that they believe that.
Sure, but a good intent when you start a show doesn't negate, supersede, or override the horrific deeds and actions you participated in. Don't don't like I'm not twisting that. I believe that individuals can have a glimmer of idealism and goodness and here's what I wanted to do and then they go off in this direction. But make no mistake, a grown adult person has made horrible choices that they now get to be accountable for. And that accountability can go one of two ways. They can fade into the abyss and just live off their money and pretend nothing, or they can get their ass to therapy. They can figure out those deep demons that they've decided to put back in the closet and negate, and they can actually own it publicly. That's the only minute I would say, okay. I can still think that's it.
I would love
That's
that
it.
phone call. I think, there's
Yes.
something to be said. I love someone that is able to be accountable. I do believe that people can change. I have gone through my own metamorphosis.
Haven't we
I
all?
have not
Yes.
been the same person all of these years. I am fallible. I am, all the whatever thing. Uh, I don't live in some idea like that I'm this. I have had issues, right? So have had, still have, but definitely working on and will immediately if I find that something's going sideways and it's expressed to me, I don't think my reaction would be to ignore that person. My reaction would be to go, well, oh, well, I found that all of our encounters were pleasant. Like what? That was not my experience. I'm not saying this for sport or for, and this is clearly not the experience of several people
Exactly.
after me.
Yeah.
So maybe just take that in and consider that. And, I welcome that.
Yeah.
I think that that would be a true indication of growth. That would be a true indication of taking therapy seriously. I think that would be I don't believe that no one is not worthy of.
Redemption.
So this particular theme about forgiveness, redemption, which is very Buffy Angel, is also a very big theme in my personal life. Some of these issues that I'm speaking about in a metaphorical, very roundabout way, as it relates to this show, go way back to my own personal life within my family unit. Like, just say the thing. Say the thing that happened. Acknowledge what happened. Let's start there. And I hope on the bigger picture in the rest of the world or anybody that's listening, I think if there is tensions or breakdowns in relationships, an apology, a thorough apology where one takes responsibility for the wrongdoing is a giant step forward to mending and healing.
And it's funny, in that episode, at the very end of the episode, after the demons have been taken out of them or whatever, Giles pulls Xander aside, and Giles says, "You know what's funny? All my research doesn't say that you would have forgotten what happened." And Xander's response is, "Shoot me, stuff me, mount me." What I find interesting about that is he remembered, and Giles let him get away with it without actually taking accountability.
I literally wrote in my notes, bro code, bro code,
Exactly.
covering. But do you think Giles knew that he tried to SA
I don't.
Buffy?
I
Because Buffy
mean,
didn't tell him. Buffy only told
sure,
Willow.
but at the end of the day, like, just the escalation, just because it got worse than Giles knew it was, doesn't mean that boy doesn't get to sit down and go, "Oh, that was awful, and I remember all of it, and I couldn't control it, but now I have reflection on that." And what does that say about some internal drives and we see those come out with Xander often,
All the time.
without him being transformed into a hyena boy. So we see instances of that all the time. So whether or not he knew, and SA is a part of the whole series. I mean, that kind of trying to gain access is part of a whole bunch of episodes with a whole bunch of different characters. So whether it got to that degree or Giles knew about that degree, I don't care. You knew about everything else. You know about the horrible things you said to Willow, and you don't walk up to that girl and say, "Oh, I was disgusting. I'm sorry." Are you
He
okay?
did. He did say he was sorry and hugged
Yeah,
her.
but
But he
but
didn't
he said
say the
sorry.
thing. He didn't
Yeah,
say the
he said, "I'm
actual thing.
sorry, but I don't really remember, but I'm sorry for whatever I did."
Which we find out was a lie, which then
Yes,
also is such a terrible way to end the episode. But it's also great because maybe that's why we're still talking about this show, because these dynamics are still bloody happening.
and real. Yes, yes, I
But
really do
these
think that.
90s boys are now grown adults. And where are we in 2025? We're in a huge mess.
Yes,
Women
and
are
we
in
are, and we're
peril
in
right
the.
now.
You know what's funny? Oh God, I can't talk about the end, but we're in a. You get this backlash. Let me say it like this. You get this backlash, which is what we're experiencing, the backlash of a massive human rights and equity movement, a movement of women, a movement of the gay community, the trans community, movement of minorities, a movement of immigrant rights, indigenous rights. This huge swell. We had a huge swell, very much during Buffy, kind of post Buffy. This is the recession. This is the tide going out, if you will. This is what we're getting hit by, and we're getting hit by it as sort of a death rattle.
Oh, that's a Taylor Swift reference.
That's right. A death rattle of the power structures that know they're dying, and they're trying to reassert with the Andrew pathetic boys of the world and the Charlie Kirks and the this and the Trump and all of these. They're trying to reassert that control, that power. They're trying to wield it back because they understand that as a community, we're stronger, we're better, we're more powerful, we're more aware than we ever have been. So they're trying to wind it back. I still think it is the death rattle. It is the last gasp of a dying, embarrassing little boy generation.
So we have 12 minutes left. And
I hate the
that
clock.
was the most incredible, most powerful soundbite I can think of using in this podcast. The only thing I want to say about it, if you can do it in like 30 seconds, because I want to get to you personally
it.
and your
30
book
seconds.
and all that. Wait, I want to ask you the question. The question is,
Okay.
how do you arrive at the assertion that it's a death rattle, a gasp, and that they're going down and they know it? What makes you think this isn't the ascension to something really, truly awful? Instead, you feel more optimistic that it's them going down. You are implying they're going to fail.
Yeah.
So why do you say that in 30 seconds or less?
This is easy because
give it to me.
I watch the next generation walk through my halls. I watch their confidence.
Oh my God, I have
watch their
chills.
awareness. I watch their education. I watch them treat each other, not always with respect, but for the most, disrespectful only like equitably disrespectful, if you understand what I mean. Like they chirp each other, but I watch them understand that men and women and the trans community, the gay community, the immigrant community, I watch and I listen to them speak with such clarity of what justice and equity looks like, and how whatever's going on right now is an embarrassing old thought process that they don't want any single part of, and they don't react and interact in that way anyways.
Do you think that is the same case in the United States? Because you're in Canada.
Yeah, I do. I can't say it like I can say it because I have moms and kids from very red parts of Texas and Wyoming and Montana and South Carolina reaching out and saying, if it you are speaking exactly what we think, and you're saying it on this grand scale, and you're giving everybody in these small little blue dots hope and awareness. And what you start to realize is that my popularity on that social media app isn't because of anything other that I'm saying something that everybody has been thinking. I just have the platform to do it, and they're all feeling empowered by it and supported in what they've already. I'm not changing their minds, right? Like it already exists. It's already there. We just have been so used to certain people, negativity and kind of oppressive, dictatorial onslaughts in the United States, getting all the media bites, getting all the sound bites. There's a reason, by the way, that they're trying to mess with TikTok, right? Well, go ahead, mess with it. There'll be something else. You can't stop that wave anymore.
Is your demographic, geographically speaking, what is your biggest demographic? Canadian, American, UK?
American.
It's US?
My biggest state, want to know my biggest state percentage-wise? Texas.
Tell me. No way. That's
Swear to
shocking.
God.
That's
Swear.
shocking.
But I'll tell you why. It's because people there, even though they're the whatever the voting demographic is, they have people there that are poised to fight for what is right, and they need some bigger voices to be able to make them feel a part of a community.
You're doing the Lord's work. I feel like you are, you save me because I feel like you're so organized and succinct in your messaging. You're a teacher, so it comes naturally. You're brilliant. You have such a sharp mind. And to that end, I have some questions for you. I want to get into the you of it all because Joanna, you deserve all the flowers. And you're doing great work. I mean, you have 4 million followers on TikTok. You wrote a book called That's Not What This Book Is About. So what is it about?
It, it's about, so it's kind of in reference to a little bit the Five People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom, and in this book he goes to heaven and he meets these people that transformed his life, but he never even had a lot of cognizant memory of them. So I wanted to take that idea, and instead of going to heaven I become a teacher, not to ruin the end of the book, but and I go back in time and I grab, or I try to discern those moments that were transformational, and I didn't know it at the time. I didn't have any awareness of it at the time. And then I flash forward to when I'm a teacher and I can draw on the lessons I've learned, and they help shape who I am, why I am, and how I am a teacher because of those moments, because of what I learned when I was 7 on that baseball diamond, or when I was in that classroom, or when I was on that playground. And I think connecting those and then being able to relate them in sort of a powerful transformational way as a teacher, hopefully will draw on other people to see they have that exact same power. They just have their own little superpowers because they've had their own little lived experiences that make them incredible people, that allow them to change the world in the ways in which they're capable of doing so.
I feel your passion is palpable. You're so in purpose. You are living and breathing the conversation of raising this next generation, and you are into it. And people are into how into it you are. I love talking to you. I'm obsessed with talking with you. I love to watch your videos. I love to hear what lessons, where you go off and what you're going to say. I'm so grateful you exist. You're such a powerful voice. And I'm so honored to have you on the show with me. I have a couple of questions. We have a little bit of time, but let me see if they're worthy. I, s-
Worthy.
I,
Are they
well,
worthy?
one of the questions I love to ask guests is, what
Yeah.
do you want your legacy to be? But I feel like we've covered it. Like this, you're living your legacy. That's also like what I want every single podcast member to feel when they watch this show. I want them to know I feel I'm in purpose. I'm creating another space to talk about a beloved show, 2 beloved shows, this Buffyverse, of which I had the honor to be a part of. Yes, there was some shenanigans, but like the greater picture of it all, it's just, this is such a I really feel like this has, this process has made me feel like I'm in my purpose, and I want everybody to find their purpose and feel that zest for life, that enthusiasm. It's like I partnered with Patreon, and I talked to Sarah Wan, I'll talk to Stephanie Hine, I'll talk to Jesse Adler. I'm like, literally, do you understand you are doing the Lord's work when you're helping creators create a place or a thing, a space, a safe space for people to go to and listen and feel energized, empowered, listening to enthusiasm for life. And even when it's hard, it's like, this is no time to put our head down. We got to fight. We got to fight. Like, I feel people want that, need that. I think it's good. I feel like they're in their purpose, you're in your purpose and in your lane, and I'm in my lane. And I just feel so grateful that I'm able to have this conversation with you. You're so
No.
special.
Listen,
Um,
I want to come back. I want to do all the podcasts with you.
let's
Let's
do it.
let's just run through all the seasons. Let's go right now. I'll put my
I already talked about the highlights of the episode in terms of standout moments that felt incredibly disturbing. Going back, we already discussed that. We already discussed really what your biggest takeaway of the episode is, but why don't you just recap it? Like, what would you say as a teacher? What is the overall message of the episode?
It's very easy to get lost. It's very easy to lose your identity when you are trying to form yourself within the lines of a group dynamic. And when you lose your identity, every single person becomes less important on this planet if being a part of the group is more important or more powerful than speaking your truth. So, and I know that was mystically done on the show, but it is, you can see it, it's palpable when it comes to teenagers, and heaven help us, it's very palpable when it comes to adults, that if they don't feel confident in who they are so easily led to be who somebody else wants them to be so they can garner more power and more prestige in this world. And I think that building that empowerment is vital.
This is the last question. How, when you see this in your classrooms or in your school hallways, how do you approach them? And then when you see a kid that seems lost or is suffering, and you don't know why, you don't know what their home life is like, you don't know, or maybe maybe they have a very well-adjusted home, which is not very likely, but maybe, but then, they're triggered from a boyfriend or a girlfriend breakup or something. I don't know what ages you're around, but how do you how do you help? How do you give the guidance, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's the $1,000,000 question. I've had this conversation, especially after this last year of being VP, and trying to understand the connection between bad behavior, outbursts, even, let's say neglect of the classroom or neglect of whatever, or treating people poorly, and you pull that kid into your office or you have conversations, and immediately you start to see, oh, this happened and this happened and this happened to them. Okay, now, just because things happen to an individual doesn't allow you to then spill out that dysfunction onto everybody else. So I've said this a number of times, teaching history is 50% of my job. The other 50% is trying to figure out who that student is, what's going on in their world, how I can help, how I can facilitate help if they need it, how many phone calls I need to have with their parents and their families, how many in person we need to do, what kind of mental health and community outreach can I possibly encourage and include in order to get this kid out of that sort of ego driven, sort of in their head ideology, and understand that if you have purpose, just like you said, if you have purpose in this world and you feel like you are powerful and you are contributing to something, everything else fades away. So my job, I think, is to figure out how to get those kids to their purpose, because if they're in it, all that other stuff goes away.
I talk to my son about that a lot. How can I support you to like, I think it starts with, what are you into? What do you like? Whenever we have a a a s a younger person trying to figure out their way, how do you I think about, how did I end up where I am? How did I discover acting? How did I even get into, like, it's such a tricky thing. So, what are your interests? And I speak to Donovan about this a lot. Like, what do you like? Because I know he's not a 9 to 5er. He does not like institutionalized learning. And, he was having some breakdowns in school the first couple of years, his freshman and sophomore year. And it wasn't until, and he was trying to tell me, I'm not happy here. And it was just like, it was like not plausible to move or shift it around until the crisis got to a point where, oh, we have to change this. And extreme measures were taken to support him in this new journey. So it's really about listening, I would imagine. But then he became a straight A student. It was so crazy. But then even today, like, he's doing what he loves. And my dad has always said this. Now my dad is 81 in a few days. And his idea is, men need to feel like they're useful. Men need to feel like they can earn, they have to be productive. And if men don't feel productive, you're dealing with repressed rage. You're dealing with it just manifests in, to dysfunction and addiction potentially and all these different things. So if we don't deal with these issues, we're going to be at a reflection point, which I feel like is
That's right.
definitely happening right now in our country, my country. But I really do feel like it's tricky to help guide a child or a young person to find their purpose. It's just so individual. It's like so you have to tailor it.
And I think it's a very hard thing to do. But for example, when I said I want the kids to find purpose, and I want them, one of the best ways you can do that is take them outside of themselves, in the sense that, let's assume you can do this. I know not everybody has this capacity, but I feel like to some degree you have a bit of this capacity. What service can you be to other people? Can you work at a food bank? Can you shovel somebody's driveway? Can you help somebody who is old, who can't cut their grass or get their own groceries? Everybody can do something. And the more you take yourself out of yourself and you understand, okay, that person's going through it. I'm going to go, either an institution or a person on your street. I think you start to glean and you start to get an idea, maybe not of what job you want to do for the rest of your life. That's not what I'm talking about. But the fact that I truly believe internally we are all better people and we all live happier lives if we feel as though what we're doing is helping other people. That has value.
Yes, that is 100%. That is so true. That is church. And also, I feel like, and we have to wrap it up, we're a little bit over, but what I also feel is that that's confidence building. And you
Yep,
never know what opportunities can arise from
absolutely.
being in service. You
Yep.
never
You
know
don't
who
know who
you're going to
you'll meet.
meet.
Yep,
You never
that's right.
know. So I think
That's
you're
right.
onto something there. I think that is
Yeah.
the way to get out of the way and assist people in finding their purpose. Joanna, thank you so much for being on the Bitches Back. You are an inspiration on so many levels. I adore you. One day we'll get to see each other in
One
person.
day,
But
one day we're both allowed to enter into, I can come
each
into your
other's
country with
country.
you. Right.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You
Thank you
are
so much. I
a gem.
appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye, hon.
Tell everyone you've ever met right now, 'cause the bitch is back. Yes, the bitch is back.